All right, guys. So let's kick it off. I'm really apologize for this morning's technical issue. Um, sort of part of what we I guess it's become a ritual now. So we have a small troubleshooting issue every single time we try to do this, but and it looks like we did lose a lot of participants based on that. We had a pretty record turnout for this event, which was great to see. But it is unfortunate. We'll be sending out this recording, so no worries for those who did miss this, who weren't maybe able to make it on the call. So for those who don't know me, my name is Francois. I work here as a project director at Hybrid Power Solutions. And if you've seen any of our previous webinars, I've kind of been hosting all these, taking in your questions. I have muted everybody at this point in time. You are able to unmute yourself or go into the chat function and just type in questions as we go. We will have a Q&A session right at the end. So you can either, as we are going through this, just type it out in the chat, or in the end, you can unmute yourself and ask away. So we're really happy today to be presenting to you our new Power Tower 6.4 battery. So the PT6.4 battery module. So this is really cool. This has been months and months and months of hard work that has culminated into this battery pack you see right in front of us. And the cool thing about this is that with having the PT 3.9, for those who aren't familiar, which is another 48 volt module that we have here, out on the market, we were really able to get your feedback and be able to design a system based on exactly what our customers wanted. So that was something that was really important to us, was to get that feedback. And we've been working really closely with our solar installers, our industrial customers, as well as our end customers, to come up with something that we think is pretty cool. So I'll give you guys a really quick brief for those who aren't familiar about the Power Tower series of products. Power Tower itself is an all-in-one system that allows for basically your cottage or your home to go completely off the grid. It's also used as a backup system. And with that comes a series of batteries. So the first launch was the PT 3.9 battery. And that was great for either that Power Tower system or any other kind of application that required a 48 volt. It was an all-in-one lithium iron phosphate module. So here what we've got is we've got the PT6.4. And as you could probably guess, the 6.4 means it's got 6.4 kilowatt hours of energy in it, which is a huge increase. And if you haven't noticed, the size is pretty much the same as our PT 3.9. So a lot of advancements came into this. We've got some of the coolest, most energy dense cells on the market for lithium iron phosphate. These have just been released, which are pretty cool. And that's all built into the system to give it the same or better performance that we had before in a similar size and similar weight package. So lots to go over here. So I've got my notes with me to make sure that I didn't miss anything. I also want to do a really quick mention here for those who are familiar with the Power Tower system, that the Power Tower will now have a conduit cover to meet new CEC, Canadian Electrical, and NEC electrical codes. So we will be sending that out at the end of this webinar. So if you are interested in that cover that goes with the standard Power Tower system, all off-grid system, just hang tight. We'll be sending that out to you. So why did we come up with a new module? So the first thing is, for those who aren't familiar, there is a brand new Canadian Electrical Code requirement for off-grid and residential, so either on-grid or off-grid residential hookups with any kind of battery backup or battery storage system. So one thing we want to do is we want to make sure that we are ahead of that by basically offering you a system that already meets those codes. Okay, that actually got implemented this May. So we expect a lot of retrofits along with new installations to meet those codes. The second thing is that we had a lot of people come to us and say, look, lithium's great, except for cold weather. So we addressed that in this module, and we're going to be touching on that. Third thing is the PT 3.9 didn't really have any kind of intelligent communication with the outside world. So it ran as its own independent system, which was great, functioned really well, but it was missing some of the features that you'd like with intercommunication between inverters or other systems. So if it was in a vehicle, for example, it could be with any kind of other CAN bus design systems or with other batteries themselves. So that's point number 3. And then fourth thing is the new CEC rules for so the Canadian Electrical Code and National Electrical Codes for DC shutoff. So the new rules now imply that any system in a home must disconnect the actual batteries themselves, so must turn off the batteries themselves when there's an issue or a fault. This is a brand new rule. It is overly, it's overly safe, but it's a good one to have in there. So what we've done is we've actually built a system that if you were to disconnect a certain wire through a plug in the front, and I'll show that during our demo here, you'd actually be able to shut down the whole system right at the battery level, which is very cool. So let's dive into it. So what do we have here is a 48 volt module. The true voltage on this is a 51.2 volt module because of it being lithium iron phosphate. So the minimum voltage is 44 volts, the maximum is 8.4, and that's all written in that spec that you guys can download right in the chat function there. So just take a look there, click there, and I'll go over some of these high-level specs there. You've also got a capacity of 6.4 kilowatt hours. You can put up to 24 of these in parallel, all interconnected together. And with this smart integration or this communication that I spoke about, you will have all 24 modules actually speaking to one another and making intelligence decisions throughout. So we'll touch a little bit about that later on when I go over the communication side of things. But that's a really cool feature. And so that allows you to basically expand the system from anywhere from 6.4 to 155 kilowatt hours of storage in one system, really. So maximum discharging. So each module will allow up to 125 amps of continuous discharge, which when compared to the industry standard is quite high. It's also really relevant to what you would want to install in a residential or commercial setting. So that's why we chose that 125 amps continuous discharge. And it does have 200 amp of peak discharge for 3 seconds, which is very good. So remember, when you're adding these in parallel, you can obviously add those together. So if you've got 2 modules, you would get 250 amps of continuous output. Another good feature is that these cells are rated down to minus 30 degrees Celsius, which is one of the first out on the market for lithium iron phosphate. So that is minus 30 degrees Celsius without any kind of modification or anything like that, or artificial heating system. But one thing I did want to touch on is the fact that this does have a fully integrated, fully automated heating system. The idea being here is twofold. One, the ability to charge in any conditions. So that was always a big letdown of lithium, was the fact that you could not charge below 0 degrees Celsius. So with this one, no problem at all. It's going to make sure it keeps itself warm and above 0 degrees Celsius at all times to ensure that you are able to charge in any conditions. Okay, that's fully automated. The second thing too is that what we found is that the drop in capacity over when you go below 0 degrees Celsius is to the point where you're better off actually artificially charging or heating the system to above 0 degrees Celsius, and that exchange of energy, you actually end up gaining more by just keeping the battery module warm, and even though you're using some of that energy to keep the module hot. So that exchange and that math we did, we concluded that it was better to actually heat the module at all times, even when you're not charging, just to get that better performance at any point in time. The other thing that we wanted to make sure was that it's cross-compatible with not only our Power Tower in the future Power Tower 2.0 that'll be releasing later this year, but also any other kind of inverter system that you want to install. We understand the limitations of our Power Tower. We understand the limitations that it's really, really good for off-grid or most off-grid situations with some backup power situation and some on-grid situations, but it's not proper for everyone. So what we did is we made sure that this module is now compatible with all Solarc inverters as well as Schneider Connects. We also will be starting to integrate with other inverters as requests come in, which is really cool. So that means you're creating basically a closed loop system where the inverter actually speaks to the batteries. Not only that, but with this communication, this CAN bus network that we've created, the batteries themselves will also talk to one another. So the beauty with that is that we actually have a system that will only integrate batteries when it is safe and balanced to do so. So one thing that the PT 3.9 required was individual module balancing. So when you received a unit, you had to charge it up fully and then add another one in by charging it fully as well to make sure that they were both at 100% before you integrated everything together. With this, the whole system is automatic, which means from a user point of view, you can add in a battery and to an existing system, or when you're installing it, and the system will automatically only invite it to turn on when it is safe to do so and when it is balanced to do so, which is a really cool feature. So the other thing I want to talk about is obviously just the general look and feel of it. As you can see, it's about the same size and roughly the same weight as the PT3.9. So it's a 50 kilogram system with 105 pounds. So 105 pounds, measuring just over 13 inches by 13 inches, about 20 inches in length. It is all in the spec there if you want to take a look at that as well. We did keep the handles, just a little bit of different style on this. So handles here, and then on the back here, you do have rolling casters that lock up, similar to the PT3.9 for those who are familiar with that product. People really did like those casters. You can remove them if you'd like, but the caster feature is really nice when you're doing that install or when you are just rolling them around or changing position of the system, depending on your application. So that's pretty cool. So let me dive into a little bit of the connectors. We'll even turn it on, take a look at that. So on the front here, you'll see your breaker. And you can actually turn the system on without turning the breaker, which is very cool if you're trying to just take a look at your features or at your state of charge or whatever it may be. You're going to want to just be able to just press on that and then turn it on. So the actual output won't be on at this point because the breaker hasn't been closed. Okay, but you will see it fired up. You'll be able to scroll through the screen, see whatever you want. And then if you'd like, you can close off that breaker right there. Okay. So you got your breaker here, you got your positive and negative terminals, you have your display, and then right here, you'll have your USB port. So this is a really cool feature and something that people ask us about is, what happens if you get a software update and now it's compatible with my inverter, or it's, I want to make some modifications because this may be going into a commercial vehicle or something like that. Then how do I, is it possible to make on the fly firmware or software updates? So having that external USB port that connects directly to our battery management system for reprogramming is essential. So we've added that in right on the front there, so it makes it a license. Right below that, you've got your power button, okay, as I mentioned here. And then you've also got your 4-pin Deutsch connector. So this pin connector here does two things. So one thing being the CAN bus communication. So that's your communication protocol between all of your batteries as well as your inverter, which is nice and easy to wire up. And then the second thing too is it has two circuits here for that new CEC shutdown. Okay, and so the Canadian Electrical Shutdown requirement. And that requirement basically states that if the power or some issue were to arise in the system, the modules themselves must shut down, which means that the contactor in here or the giant relay, the big on-off switch that's in here, will actually completely shut itself down. Okay, and obviously that'll be in the manual on how to wire that up to meet these new CEC rules, which is pretty cool, and it will integrate perfectly into our rapid shutdown system. So you'll have a singular point of contact where you can shut down your whole photovoltaic system, so all your solar panels, as well as your battery, and still meet code instead of having an archaic system of multiple different shutoffs, which is really cool. We always pride ourselves on making these systems as simple and as effective as possible from not only an installer's point of view, but also an operator's point of view, and keeping in style with that is what we have here. So that'll be your little connector here. Other than that, we've got tabs on the bottom, making it nice and easy to mount. Still using our typical Sherlock connectors. We absolutely love these. So they're plug and play into the power tower system. We also do sell a combiner box. So if you were to install this system in some different application or using a different inverter, you could actually purchase one of our combiner box, which allows up to 5 of these to be connected together using these Sherlock connectors, and then combine them together with a breaker into a singular output to go to whatever load you may have. So that's a really cool feature on there. We do sell these Sherlocks separately if you need to, or you can just snip them off and put your own connector on there. We just like them because they're really nice and safe and really easy. So that's all we've got on the physical side of things. A quick note on the display. So the cool thing about this display is that it will be able to combine all the data from your entire battery bank. So say you had 10 of these, it would actually combine that data on each one of the screens. So you'd be able to see the state of charge, so that's your battery percentage, of your entire bank of batteries, not just that singular bank, which is a very neat feature. And you'll also obviously be able to scroll through all that data to see also just the individual modules stats. So you'll be able to see everything from faults, voltages, amperage in and out. And then one cool thing that we did add in there too was also time until fully depleted or time until fully charged. So as long as things are constant, it will give you a really good estimation of how long it'll take at this current rate. So if the sun's shining and you've got like 4 or 5 hours left, it'll tell you how long it'll tell you how long it'll take before that this is fully charged, which is pretty cool. Or if you've got certain loads on at that running wattage, what would be how long would this last you? So it's a really good way of sort of guesstimating how long you can run the system or how long it'll take to charge the system, which is pretty cool. So as I mentioned, smart battery integration. So what it'll do is since each one of these are communicating together, they're going to make sure that they're right SOC, right voltage level to basically safely integrate, and that's all automatically done as long as you've got your communication connected in there, which is important to do. And then obviously on the heating system, so that was a really cool feature that a lot of people asked for. Being a Canadian company and operating in a lot of cold climates, it was a necessity for us to be able to integrate a heating system that made sense, that was efficient, and that allowed this module to work in so many different conditions. So now we do have this -30-degree rated system. And even if the heating system were to fail, since the cells themselves are rated for discharge and storage down to -30 degrees Celsius, you are still safe. And that was a big thing too on the storage side. A lot of our customers are not using these modules 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. They may be storing the batteries for 2 to 3 months here and there, where the temperature typically drops below -20, but really doesn't drop below -30 inside whatever building it's in. Very often. So that's why that -30 degrees Celsius for storage capability was really, really important. Another thing too was the remote monitoring capability. So that was probably the #1 feature that people asked for is it possible for me to check my, how much battery pack I have left, how well I have left from anywhere in the world? And that's exactly what we did. So with this CAN bus capability, we will be launching a fully Wi-Fi enabled remote monitoring system. So it will be just a small separate component that ties to your bank. So you'll need one of these per bank or system or whatever you're building, and it'll be able to remotely monitor all the things that you'd be able to see on that display and scroll through the screen of that display. Just to note that we do have the backlight on this display, just so you can see it, but it will time out it'll only basically come up once you're clicking through those different settings, and it'll turn off after 30 seconds. So just to conserve power, it will turn off. And this display itself is a very low running wattage. So when it doesn't have that backlit operation on, it'll be very low discharge capacity. So yeah, just a quick summary of what we have here and what we've done. So we've got one of the highest energy density modules out on the market right now. I say one of because I have yet to go through all of them, but from what I've seen, it is the highest module, energy density module, which means that it will have the smallest footprint, the smallest weight, the amount of energy out there. It also has we've chosen that 6.4 kilowatt hours because it works really, really well with these new CEC and NEC, so these electrical code rules, because they now state that you have to be below 20 kilowatt hours per system, unless you separate it by at least a meter, where you can have up to 40 kilowatts. So if you do the math, 6.4 times 3, we're just below that 20 kilowatt hour functioning. So that was the key to that, and it makes your job of installing or as a customer really easy to size these up to meet new CEC rules. Communication through CAN bus, obviously a game changer as well. We needed to have that closed loop communication, great for residential and commercial applications, also great for any kind of customized vehicles, either mining vehicles or any other systems that may require that kind of CAN bus communication to the rest of the system. The third thing too, or the third and last thing, was that smart battery integration. We had so many calls of people saying, I'm not too sure about this balancing. Did I do it right? I've got 5 or 6 batteries. They seem to show different percentages. Is this normal? What's going on? So that communication between all batteries and the ability to show just one global data point um, as a first data point for state of charge was really important to us. So that's what we worked on. So there you have it, the new PT6.4. We're really happy about this. It will be available for pre-order right away. The website it'll be going live on the website as of Monday. If you are a solar installer or if you're a distributor of this product, you can, or just an end customer, feel free to email us right away. We pre-order these. The big reason for our pre-order right now is that we are offering some major discounts. So you can put a deposit on a pre-order, and if you put a 50% deposit, you get 5% off the purchase. If you put a 100% deposit, you are getting 10% off whatever pricing you do get. So remember that, and it's obviously a really big thing. We are looking to start shipping these in either late July and August. So it'll be first come, first serve. So whoever's orders are put through first will be served first and shipped out first. So now we're down to the Q&A portion. Is there any questions that I can help answer?